Good morning. Would you please rise? We're led to Pledge of Allegiance by Chancellor Sarah Tucker. Again, I'd like to say good morning, and before we do with introductions, I'd like to record to reflect that Victor's in timeout. That's why we got him sitting over here by himself today. I'm just kidding. This time we will introduce the board and staff members, starting with Ms. Harris.
Good morning, Nancy White, Harrison County.
Good morning, Bob Dunleavy, Ohio County.
Good morning, Greg Wooten, Logan County.
Good morning, Chris Stansberry, Kanawha County.
Morning, Sarah Tucker, Chancellor of Higher Ed.
And Blythe.
Good morning, Deputy White. You want to start introductions?
Good morning, Sonia White, Deputy Superintendent. Kelly Talbot, General Counsel.
Mark Moore, Office of Communications. Jeff Kelly, Accountability.
Alexandra Kreiner, Accountability.
Drew McClanahan, Leadership.
Erica Close, Pre-K-12 Academic Support.
Tanya Baldwin, PK-12 Academic Support Coordinator, Social Studies.
Sheila Paetzel, Special Education.
Christy Day, Communications.
Dave Cartwright, Infrastructure, Network Operations.
Morning. At this time, we'll call to order the meeting. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? It's been moved by Mr. Dunleavy, second Mr. Wooten. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is recognitions. Ms. Day.
There are no recognitions today, President Hardesty.
Thank you. Next is delegations. Also, Ms. Day.
Yes, sir. We have one delegation today. Mr. Willie Parker. He is a member of the Upshur County Board of Education, and his topic is state control of Upshur County schools.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to appear at your meeting. Before I get started, I'd just like to congratulate your staff. They were very welcome and very helpful on arrival. So excellent job on their part. My name is William A. Willie Parker. I'm newly elected to the Upshur County school system. Previously, I have served 14 years on a Board of Education in an adjoining county during the 18-year period of 1986 through 2004. Then we moved to Upshur County. And with our current situation, I decided to run for this term. Based on my background and experience, I think I can provide some assistance for the operations of our system. Just a little bit on my background. I spent 15 years in the oil and gas business in Glenville, West Virginia for Dowell Schlumberger. During that time, it was the largest land-based operations in North America, Little Glenville, West Virginia. After that, I spent 30 years as a county administrator in Upshur County and Harrison County. So that's my 45-year career history, retired a couple of years ago. I think working together as a team with the superintendent, Miller, she's done an excellent job, in my opinion, in this difficult time, and I know she will continue to do so. But we, working together, can improve the system for our kids and taxpayers. President Hardesty appeared at our Canaan Valley training recently, and he reminded us that's who we're here for, the kids and the taxpayers of the county and the state. but I believe my background, experience can assist in accomplishing these goals. I have personal goals of within this calendar year, school year, that Upshur County will be back in control of certain aspects of their operation. I'm looking at finance and personnel just based on my experience and background. I think I can provide some leadership there. But I do thank you for this opportunity. We will get better in Upshur County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There are no other delegations.
Thank you. Next is school safety.
Good morning, President Hardesty, Vice President White, members of the board, Superintendent Blatt. I'm joining you remotely today. I'm on my way to Morgantown to actually present school safety the next couple of days to our facilities directors. Currently, the Office of Homeland Security, they are receiving plans every day from schools. They are getting those in much earlier this year as we've transitioned over to the GPS system for the purposes of planning and submitting. So those plans are, that's been a much more efficient system than what has been used in the past. I've been collaborating with them and working with them through that, providing technical assistance to counties on questions that they have regarding using GPS to submit their crisis plans. I have several outings scheduled here over the next couple of months to present in counties on school safety, just general best practices and the work that we're trying to do with Homeland Security. They have actually invited myself and Superintendent Blatt over. We haven't been able to get over there yet due to schedules and been out and whatnot, but they have really done some great things over there with technology and making more efficient, taking a more efficient approach at monitoring of schools and using the data that the regional officers are collecting to make sure that that our schools are operating as smoothly and safely as possible. Any questions?
Questions, Mr. Atkins? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Hardesty.
Next on our agenda is county technical assistance updates. Mr. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President, Vice President White, members of the board, Superintendent Blatt. This is the July rendition of the Accountability Liaison Monthly Report. We're now up to 182 submissions. I believe that's over 7 months, if I'm not mistaken. The areas most impacted are child nutrition and personnel. Of those interventions, 66.5% are proactive. Most common types of interventions continue to be technical assistance at 33.8% and county or school visits at 15.6%. Specific instances or examples include, but are not limited to, of course, Mr. Atkins just mentioned that he's been providing technical support to counties in completing their crisis response plans. Dr. Close reports that 977 educators attended the Charleston Invest Conference July 22 through 25. They did a heck of a job over there. Mr. Cummings in finance completed, and his team completed annual reviews of FY25 County Board proposed budgets. Ms. Hughes-Webb, the WVDE data collection team, both proactively and responsively worked with all districts to ensure they completed their end-of-year collections. Those are, for those of you who have some knowledge of that, that can be quite the chore. They want to make sure, of course, that they were on time and free from errors. She made the point to note that they participated in WEVIS Hot Topics meetings weekly. They held open office hours to respond to specific needs. They made and fielded phone calls to and from districts for support. and sent or received over 2,500 emails. That is from May 7 to June 28. They were busy bees. If you see any of those folks, give them a pat on the back. Mr. Whitlow and his team, as required by state code and state board policy, completed annual in-person reviews of 73 schools who have received money from the SBA. And lastly, a little recognition piece. Ms. Harrison reported the Office of Child Nutrition has been selected to present on scratch cooking at the National School Nutrition Association Conference in Boston. So if you see those folks, make sure you pat them on the back as well. Minus any questions or comments, Mr. President, that completes my report.
Questions of Mr. Kelly? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. Next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Been moved by Ms. White. Second by Dr. Stansberry. All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carried. Next, under new business, update on Hampshire County Schools Special Education State of Emergency. Mr. Kelly, good morning again.
Good morning. I'll be yielding the mic to Ms. Kreiner and Ms. Patel, who have been running point on the Hampshire State of Emergency.
Good morning, President Hardesty, Vice President White, Superintendent Black, members of the board. At the November 8th, 2023 meeting, this board voted to declare a state of emergency in Hampshire County schools specific to the provision of special education services. And policy 2322 requires that when a state of emergency has been declared in a county, that the board reviews progress at the end of a 6-month period to determine whether adequate progress has been made and to take an additional action. With me today to discuss the progress that's been made in Hampshire County are the WVDE Director of Special Education, Sheila Patel, and Hampshire County School Superintendent, Jeff Pancione, and Director of Special Education, Amanda Billmeyer. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Patel, who will talk to you a little bit about some of the progress that's been reported.
Good morning, President Hardesty, Vice President White, Superintendent Black, and members of the board. I'm going to focus on the 4 focus areas briefly that were identified in the special circumstance review. First of all, there was the efficiency indicator status, which was the reason for the delineation in Hampshire County. They had experienced challenges in meeting special ed requirements for several years, and as a result, they had dropped into the needs substantial intervention category on their 2023 special ed determination status. So effective June 7th, 2024, with the issuance of the 2024 LEA special ed determinations, they have been able to move up from needs substantial intervention to needs assistance. And that is a category that does not carry the level of need and the same level of concern or the threat of holding their funds. So I believe that the Board of Ed received a matrix that goes over the details of that determination. And I'm not going to go over all of those because of time, but I will say that they improved in 19 indicators and showed positive maintenance in 8 indicators when comparing the 2023 and the 2024 indicators. And I'd like you to please note that many of these indicators are lagged, and that's how we report them to the federal government per their directives. So I'm going to skip over now to talk a little bit about the monitoring that took place, both last school year and the school year that just closed, 2022-23 and 23-24. The 2022-23 monitoring, Hampshire County was able to correct everything and close that out. So for the new monitoring that we just did as a progress report, there were still some weaknesses, specifically at the high school level. But they were able to show significant improvements at the elementary and middle school levels. Focus area 2, county administrative practices and allocation of resources. Significant progress has been made on the recommendations in this area, And those include the hiring of a compliance specialist, the hiring of a mentor for the special ed director, and also the assignment of a liaison from our office to work with Hampshire County schools in the areas of graduation rate, dropout rate, and secondary transition planning. Focus area 3, IEPs. Significant work has been undertaken in this area, and all corrective actions have been addressed with varying levels of success. They're still working on service verification, and I just want to take a minute to explain how that works. What is written on the IEP by the IEP team, as determined by the student's individual needs, is what has to be delivered to the minute. And that is because that a student is entitled to that under federal law. So when a service is overserved or underserved, even by a little bit, they're out of compliance. So that's something that a lot of our districts really struggle with. But I do believe that they've put a lot of things in place, and Mrs. Billmeyer or Mr. Ponciano may want to talk about that a little bit. And then focus area 4 goes to least restrictive environment and talks a lot about how you must make decisions based on the student's least restrictive environment. You can't put them in special education just because they've been identified as a special ed student. They can spend most of their days in a general ed setting. So Hampshire County Schools has really worked on that, and they are undergoing training and co-teaching. They are looking at inclusive practices, and they were able to make some improvements, and we have a lot more training scheduled with them. So that is basically what I have. If you have any questions, feel free. And Mr. Ponciano and Mrs. Billmeyer are here to talk to you as well as needed.
Okay. Please bring him up.
Okay, come on up.
President Hardesty, Vice President White, and Superintendent Blatt. We acknowledged we had many shortcomings. We have rolled up our sleeves and went to work. I shared with Mrs. Billmeyer coming down the road, my pastor's sermon Sunday was navigating the uncertainties. And I think that's certainly where we have been over the last several years. I think we were beginning to make some progress when Mrs. Billmeyer came on board 4 years ago, and we're just now starting to see the fruits of her labor prior to that. With my pastors, navigating, he said there's only one path, and that is looking, creating a plan, and you got to move forward. You can't look back. And I think that's where we're at today. We've done a lot of diligent work. We've put a lot of things in place. We look forward to the beginning of schools. We have basically reviewed every IEP in our county. As Hazel said, the verification was one area that we discovered we thought we had in place. And then when we started going out in administrative teams, mock teams from the county office, we started seeing some discrepancy. Principals didn't understand, so we invited our principals. So we made them part of our mock teams, going to each individual schools, looking at it, verifying. As we were learning, we were training our principals. So we've done, I said to Amanda, we've sort of tried to burn candles on both ends, training our new teachers, and we, like every county in the state, we struggle with finding certified individuals to place in, regardless of whether it's a special ed or a regular ed classroom. And at the same time, we're training our administrators. So hopefully we're going to meet in the middle. And I think our desire is in a few years that we will be the state model. As other counties struggle, the state will be able to send them to Hampshire County and say, here's where they were, here's where they are, seek their advice and their assistance to move forward. Mrs. Billmeyer, and if any board members have questions for us.
Just like to thank the State Department. They have been excellent and supporting our county, being able to answer questions. Sheila always takes my calls. She'll answer any little question to any big question and send me in the right direction. And then Bev Nichols is our consultant. She's done an amazing job. And Tanya, we wouldn't be where we are today without all of their support. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of our guest? Mr. Wooten?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. Couple of questions in terms of the progress that you've made. How is it that you measure success? We talked about special ed. You said you had moved from needs intervention to now needs assistance. Talk to me in terms of did you move from a 2 to a 5, or I mean, how should we think about where you are on a scale from 1 to 10, let's say?
I'll address that, and then they can add if you still have questions. But this is a pretty complex system. There are 18 indicators from the federal government, and we measure every LEA with the same methodology. It is rather complex. We do have a data manager who leads that work, but each indicator is different. For example, indicator 1 is graduation rate, and that's the percentage of youth with IEPs graduating with a regular diploma. So that's calculated, and the district gets 2 points if they meet the state's target, and 1 point if they meet the target, and then 1 point if they are as good as the state average. So there's a possibility of 2 points there. And through all of those indicators, there's a distinct methodology of how that is calculated. So if you are below a certain percentage, you fall into needs substantial intervention, below 70%, I believe. And then also, if you're in needs assistance for more than 3 years, then you would fall into needs substantial intervention. So because they dropped below that 70% for more than 3 years, they were in needs substantial intervention, and they've been able to build back up to above that percentage. So now they jump back up to needs assistance. So like I said before, Hampshire County Schools has a ways to go, but we have several LEAs who are also in needs assistance, and that's not as emergent as the needs substantial intervention. Hopefully that answers your questions. We can give you lots of information on the methodologies, and we actually have a document, our general supervision document, which is required under the federal government, and it explains all of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of data driven. So if you do have more data to support what it is that you're saying in words, it's not that I don't believe it.
Right.
I'd just like to see
Yeah.
where you are on, again, I'm using a scale from 1 to 10. It could be, you could pick something else, but I'd be interested in seeing how the sausage is made
Right.
behind the scenes.
Okay, we will provide that to the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I was looking for you. This is Jonathan Shank, our data manager. I didn't know he was behind me, so he might have something to add to that.
Yeah, so the determination that is made every year for every LEA in the state is based on a combination of results indicators, which are measured. They measure outcomes for students with disabilities, like assessment, graduation, the least restrictive environment. Things where the state set the targets for those with stakeholder input. And there's also compliance indicators, like are we following the letter of the law? Are we evaluating all our kids within the established timeframes? Are we doing compliant secondary transition plans? So there's a separate percentage for overall compliance with IDEA. And the determination is a combination of how well your LEA does in improving outcomes for students and also following all state and federal law. And like she said, there is a methodology document that we can provide upon request. And there's the general supervision manual that's on the special education webpage that has every single thing that we're required to do under federal law to make sure that all the LEAs are doing what they're supposed to do, and enforcement mechanisms for when they aren't doing as well as we would expect. But all that can be provided upon request, and most of it is publicly available on the website. So,
maybe to answer your question from a layman's, the graduation. We hired a transition specialist. We have also at the high school a retired teacher that is a graduation coach. So we have specifically target those kids in special education, making sure both individuals are working with them. I particularly start in January with the high school. Show me the kids who are in jeopardy. I want to know, So we begin working with them. We start, calling parents. Your child is in jeopardy of not graduating. Here's what they need. Here's what we can do. We can after school tutoring. We can do some credit recovery. And even with the special ed. So we have worked intensely targeting those kids. And even up to the last week, we were down, I think we had maybe 10 or 12, and we were down to the last 2 or 3 the last week of school. And I went personally back to the high school again, pulled those kids and talked, you're this close. Let's get you over. What can we do? I had a middle school phys ed teacher. One young lady was struggling in PE. She didn't want to dress. So, she allowed her to come up on her planning period at the middle school. I'll work with you individually. I'll test you. I'll get you to get you through. So, and then a lot of it was with the tests, the general summative testing, and we made lots of improvements in a lot of areas like that. And one particular area is the preschool. We recently, Mrs. Vilmar at a training sort of picked on something. Maybe how we were entering the data incorrectly, or we wasn't getting that. So we think that's going to help us significantly to begin pulling more, earning more of those points, quality points that are available.
Again, thanks for being here this morning, and I'll be calling on Superintendent Blatt here momentarily to make a recommendation with regard to this situation. But a couple things I want to point out. You mentioned your pastor. Mr. Wooten and I served under a pastor for a number of years, and one of his favorite sayings was that you had to acknowledge and recognize your condition. I think he said that about every Sunday. And you all have done that. You've owned up to the situation that you had, and you didn't run from it. You acknowledged it. And I spoke to all the new board members that were being sworn in and newly elected for the upcoming school term at Canaan Valley a couple weeks ago. And I told them there's 2 areas that can get a district in trouble faster than anything. That's your finance director and your special ed department. And this goes out to all the 55 counties. We got a lot of special ed departments in the state that's got issues. You're not alone. I wish someone would come to us and call us and say, hey, we've got a problem. We're having problems. Come and help us. Rather than wait until after the fact when we come in to do our reviews, and this young lady here has to bring her team in and find out that we're not serving our most vulnerable population properly. And special ed's hard to do on a good day. It's very tough to give everyone the services they need and that the law prescribes. But I want to thank you for coming here today, for owning up to the problem, for making progress. And Superintendent Blatt, I'm going to now recognize you for a recommendation.
So I want to thank Superintendent Passione and our team and the collaborative effort that's went in place to make the progress that we have at this point. I would like to recommend, though, that the board continue the state of emergency for an additional 6 months so that we can continue to see the progress we are making now.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation by Superintendent. I think this requires action.
Yeah, we talked with Mrs. Talbot.
We've talked to council prior to the meeting, and this requires action. And before we do that action, and again, this is not punitive in nature. This is just something that we're trying to continue the process to move forward and not backward. You've heard the recommendation by Superintendent Blatt. Is there a motion to approve her recommendation? Been moved by Mr. Wooten. Second by Mr. Gabriel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Next is the update on Logan County Schools intervention. Mr. Kelly.
Getting my steps in today, Mr. President. I'm here to present the Logan County Schools update, July 2024. I think we do have here Superintendent Huffman, Mr. Brumfield, and Dr. Beck from Logan County Schools. Brief background here. At the request State Superintendent of Schools, the Office of Support and Accountability conducted special circumstance review September 15 of 2022 to investigate official complaints regarding board governance, central office leadership, and also the results of a routine federal programs monitoring. The review process was conducted as outlined per West Virginia Board of Education Policy 2322. Report was presented to the board on October 27, 2022. It resulted in an immediate and ongoing intervention in Logan County schools. You were last updated December 13, 2023. I'm going to highlight a couple notable areas of progress, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to Superintendent Huffman for questions and comments, should you all have any. A few areas of progress. Central office administrators have worked in partnership with a team of principals from each programmatic level to establish an online template for completing classroom walkthroughs. This included look-fors for the elementary template that are based on the science of reading and the mathematical habits of mind, and with the secondary template based on Marzano and Hattie strategies. Principals have the expectation of being in the classroom daily to monitor instruction. Planned principal meetings include activities such as award presentations, team building activities, and networking opportunities among administrators. This has resulted in the building of trust, increased communication, and has solidified the importance of working together. In February of 2024, the Federal Programs Director began conducting monthly collaborative meetings with all Title I teachers. This is to support the implementation of science and reading, diagnostic tools, deep dives into data, and further understanding of policy and expectations to meet the needs of staff members in providing quality instruction, leading to increased student learning. Several months of prep have occurred to provide a 2024 Logan County Schools Summer Teacher Academy, which is slated for July 22 for secondary and July 29 for elementary. And I found this interesting. Superintendent Huffman told me at the conclusion of every principal meeting for this school year, this past school year, school administrators were reminded that student achievement must be everyone's top priority. And with that, I will.
President Hardesty, Vice President White, Superintendent Black, members of the board. Mr. Kelly shared a few things that are going on in Logan County, and I do want to say we certainly appreciate him doing so. He talked about the science of reading. Last summer, with the assistance of members of the Department of Education, we did offer an extensive training for all of our elementary teachers, substitute teachers, long-term, short-term, also our service staff at the elementary level, with all of those individuals being involved with assisting students learning to read. Not only did we provide the summer training, we provided supports throughout the school year using our professional learning days and so forth for those individuals. If you recall, back in October 2022, there was a lot of talk about programs and this program being used to assess students, that program being used to assess students. Proud to share with you that currently in our elementary and middle schools, we use one tool to assess student learning and student growth. That was decided on by a team from the central office as well as principals, and that tool is iReady. We have worked with our principals and our teachers since that adoption also, with training on utilizing that tool, how to use that data, what to do with it, how to extract it, and so forth. That training occurred at the beginning of the school year and went on throughout the 23-24 school year. Excuse me. Our elementary and middle schools have also revised their master schedules for the 24-25 school year. so that they have times built in to address student deficiencies, but also to build on student successes so that there is intervention and enrichment for all students. And that's based on real-time data. That's not lagging data. That is our ready data that is readily available to be utilized. Our secondary schools or high schools, really, once those students left middle school, our high schools really didn't get any meaningful data until those students were juniors and taking the SAT. During this past school year, we began the process of utilizing the PSAT for students in grade 9 and 10, both in the fall and in the spring, so that our instructional staff and administrators received that data early in the school year, but they could also measure growth at the end of the year. And for our juniors, we utilized the PSAT in the fall prior to taking the SAT in the spring. That provided a consistent flow of data. And think about using the iReady K through 8. Once we go through this cycle of students, once our students go into the 9th grade, the administrator at the high school as well as the teachers at the high school are going to have 9 years worth of data for each and every student that's coming into their building that they will be able to utilize. Mr. Kelly mentioned the classroom walkthrough document, and that was a collaborative effort between our central office staff as well as our principals. Again, that is a tremendous progress and process for the building of trust among those groups of individuals. We talked about in October, we talked about the virtual learning or the virtual school offering. We did revise our policy. Virtual school is now for students in grades 6 through 12. No longer do we use an external vendor to oversee that. We use West Virginia Virtual School, but we have our own individuals, our own employees overseeing that. We also, via a extracurricular contract, employed teachers to be the liaison between the virtual school teacher and the students, as well as to monitor student progress and provide supports for them. Summer 2024, Mr. Kelly mentioned the professional development we have planned. We're really excited about that. This will be the first time in many years that our high school teachers have had an opportunity to be involved in professional development. Working with Solution Tree, we will, from K through 12, this summer be focused on high-yield instructional strategies to be implemented in the classroom. At the elementary, we will continue with the supports of the science of reading and adding numeracy this year. Part of our 3-year plan with professional development also begins this year with a group of select teachers who will be involved in letters training. This is some of the best professional development that there is available for the teaching of reading. So what we'll do, so that we do have experts in every elementary building, we have 2 teachers from every elementary school, as well as all of our principals that will start this process and work through Module 1 during the 24-25 school year. This will put them in a position that when we make the next step with the 25-26 school year with all of our elementary staff, we will have built-in supports from 2 teachers in each building, plus the administrators in that building also in each of those buildings. It's another opportunity for our principals to become better and serve as effective instructional leaders. 25-26 will also transition with Solution Tree to a focus on effective PLCs being utilized at each of our schools. Thinking about this, we've kind of condensed this for our staff. The expectation is that we have high-yield instructional strategies that our students are engaged in. We're going to measure the student learning through iReady in grades K through 8 and the PSAT in the high school setting. None of that requires multiple programs. None of that requires a program period. It's effective teaching and measuring student learning, then using the data to inform our instruction. School facilities and safety. We do have a number of facility projects taking place. At Logan High School, we have electrical and HVAC upgrades in process. Thinking about that, Logan High School has an electrical system that dates back to the late 50s. Logan Middle School, a facility that you wouldn't be expecting to spend money on at this time, facility that's approximately 27 years old. We are involved in a structural stabilization project there because of settlement of the foundation and our footers. Approximately 220 push piers will be installed around the exterior of the building connected to the foundation system itself. Some of the masonry walls inside will be replaced, as well as cosmetic upgrades with the masonry. Chapmanville Regional High School, replacement of HVAC controls that have not worked properly for many years. Back to the October 22 report to the state board, we talked about Mann Elementary, Mann Middle School having one entrance, it being at the elementary, everyone funneling through that section. We now have a designated secure entryway for our middle schools. We are in the process of finalizing a covered entryway on the exterior of the building that will then lead to the parking lot. Will help to designate the entryway there. Mann High School, like Logan High School, was opened in the mid to late 50s. We will be presenting a needs project in the fall to address the electrical upgrades and HVAC upgrades there. With the leadership of Deputy Superintendent Brumfield, we did have many school safety initiatives during the past school year. Multiple active threat drills took place that were based on a collaborative effort between Logan County Schools, Logan County Sheriff's Department, West Virginia State Police, West Virginia Capitol Police, as well as the Logan County Emergency Management Services. WVOW, local radio station, was a great supporter in that, and we certainly appreciate their efforts. Alternative Learning Center was instituted during this past school year. Previously, that occurred in the evenings without much oversight and without much of effectiveness. I do want to brag on our directors. Though we advertised a teaching position for the Alternative Learning Center throughout the year, we never had one person to bid on that. Our directors all stepped up, took turns rotating and serving in the capacity of a teacher in the Alternative Learning Center throughout this school year, in addition to creating their own jobs or completing their own jobs. Culture. Culture is hard to measure. Things become ingrained, but we talked about the development of the walkthrough with a team of administrators from the district office as well as principals. We talked about the decision to move forward with iReady, which was a collaborative effort. So we see these things taking place. We still provide a spotlight on that with that in mind. Our administrator evaluations, as opposed to those being completed by panels, are now completed by supervisors, the principal. They are honest. They are reflective. Talk about a team. When I went to Logan, I was told of multiple teams. It was team this, team that, team something else. We now have one team, that's Team Kid. And people are getting on board with that. We're getting that team assembled, and they are working together to support our students. Do want to recognize a number of people. There's a lot of things going on. This is just a mere highlight, but Deputy Superintendent Brumfield does a wonderful job in the office. Lisa Teeters, Technology School Improvement, also picked up federal programs in elementary curriculum this year. Brand new to us for the 23-24 school year, Camille Evans, Secondary Education, has great passion, great desire to see the school system move forward, working very hard. Steve Pritchard has done some phenomenal things with our facilities and maintenance. and I would be remiss if I did not mention Rhonda Justice, our chief school business official, who has done an excellent job in her department, leading her department, making a lot of changes in that department to make sure that we're operating with appropriate protocols, procedures, and her staff has been tremendous in getting on board with that. Superintendent Blatt, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Kelly, Sheila Patel, Sonia White, Kelly Talbot, and Uriah Cummings for your continued support in this process in Logan County. One other thing, and then I'll be quiet, Mr. Kelly, I apologize. There's a lot of talk about local control. Everybody wants local control. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. Okay? No doubt that it is. Let me say this to you. Change and improvement, I share with people, it is an established process. You have to follow protocols. There are things that have to be put in place. It's not an event that happens. Okay? It doesn't happen overnight. Culture is not an easy change. And until the culture changes, there's not going to be the change needed for the students in Logan County. That's the culture inside of our buildings, which we're working on every day. We work hard at it. We also have the culture outside of our buildings, which is much more difficult. We have to bring everything into focus, guys. We exist for one reason only, and that's to serve the students of Logan County. And when everyone can come to understand that, then the school system in Logan County will move forward at a rapid pace. But that does take time, and it takes time to change those minds. With regard to the planner, there were 54 tasks. Currently, 21 of those tasks have been completed, 29 are in progress, and 4 not yet started. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to share with you, President Hurst.
Any questions of Mr. Huffman? Mr. Wooten?
Good morning, Mr. Huffman.
Good morning, sir.
Appreciate your comments. I do have a couple of observations and questions. Kind of a list here. iReady. My focus group is my 2 grandsons, and so they like iReady. And I don't even know really what it is, but my feedback is it's an electronic form of testing and learning. And so while it's used as a tool, I think you might be faking the kids out, and they might actually be learning while they're having some fun. So good on you for your choice there. You said that you didn't have much data on students coming from the middle school into the high school. And I didn't really understand that comment in terms of why you wouldn't have much data.
Actually, what I said, once our students hit the high school through grades 9, grade 10, there is no true assessment that is mandated or utilized through the state of West Virginia. Logan County was using a multitude of different instruments and programs to try to measure that data. The problem was that in no way did they correlate with the SAT. So if that data was being utilized, then it really was meaningless because it did not help to prepare our students to be successful on the SAT. Hence the results that we have been receiving for a number of years there. Now, with the PSAT, in addition to the data that the students bring with them from iReady to the high schools once they enter grade 9, they'll also have the PSAT data from the fall with both 9th and 10th graders as well as juniors. So then again in the spring with 9th and 10th graders. So now by the time our students hit the 11th grade, beginning the 11th grade, those teachers in that area will have 4 data points from the PSAT, which does have a direct correlation to the SAT. So I think that they will have many more tools in their pockets to use.
Okay. That was a lot of words. I don't know if there was an
I'm
answer
sorry.
to my question in there. I think what I'm hearing is if you don't have a set of data because it wasn't mandated, is there a slug of kids that are just going to have to wait from the 8th until the 11th grade to be evaluated to figure out where they're proficient, where they're deficient?
That's what the practice has been. We
That's all.
have changed that with the 23-24 school year, as I said, where we are using the PSAT in both the fall and the spring with 9th and 10th graders, so that we do get those measures and those data points.
Okay. Then I noticed, and we got a summary in our packet from the superintendent, and it says that you're starting monthly meetings in February. This is the federal programs director began conducting monthly collaborative meetings.
Yes, sir.
Given that you took, the takeover occurred in 22, it would seem like a long time to wait until February of 24 to start having those types of collaborative meetings.
If you go back to October 2022, the special circumstance review, the report itself was full of different issues, different protocols, procedures that were lacking or not in place. We spent a significant amount of time evaluating where we were as a school system with regard to protocols, procedures that needed to be put in place. Those were basic protocols and procedures that need to be put in place. We worked through that process, but we also had to take into consideration that much of what occurred in Logan County came directly to the West Virginia Department of Education from employees in Logan County, and how everything was, they were so overwhelmed with everything that had been put in place. So what we did was to try to remove many of those different, I'll say, initiatives, whatever they're called, so that people could begin to feel some freedom in their jobs. So after that, then we began to put pieces in place to bring people together, to give them opportunities for collaboration and input and sharing of information. As I shared earlier, school improvement is truly a process. Change is a process, and we are working through that change now, but it'll be a process that takes time to fully implement.
And then the process of evaluating administrators was disbanded in the spring of 23, and now they use self-evaluation. Am I reading that right?
No, we still follow the guidelines of West Virginia Board of Education Policy 5310 with regard to principal evaluations. What had occurred previously was that there was a large panel of administrators at the district office that would be brought in. The principal would be brought in for their evaluation conference. That would be a conference that would last, from my understanding, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And there would be a lot of, just to be blunt, beat down of an administrator over what may have occurred. And it was kind of a round robin that each person that was on the panel took their time taking shots at the principals as opposed to be supportive. Truly, the evaluation process is there to promote professional growth. So what we did was transition from using a large panel of people in the evaluation process to now I sit down with the director, whether it be elementary or secondary, depending upon the principal. We asked the principal to submit to us a self-reflection and self-evaluation in advance I use that, but I also take into consideration my own observations when we complete the final rating, as well as the feedback provided to the principals in that evaluation process. It becomes much more honest. It becomes much more reflective in nature. And if there's going to be true growth, then that reflection has to be there and honesty has to be there with the feedback provided to the principals.
Again, given the special circumstances that Logan finds himself in, did we have any administrator that says, hey, I'm not that good, or was everybody, a rock star?
I think that what I found, to be quite honest, most of the administrators had rated themselves accomplished and or distinguished.
That's insightful.
When they first started doing their self-reflections for me.
Okay.
That's where the honesty comes in. That's where the difficult conversations come in. Because when you have a school that is in improvement status, you certainly don't have a principal that's distinguished. Because without that high quality leadership, then that's when our schools get in trouble.
Our schools are in trouble. And again, I'm not being argumentative. This is just an observation. And this was one that, I'm not going to say it floored me, but I was like, really? It's hard enough to do an evaluation anyhow. And if I'm allowed to have on my own job, a self-evaluation, I'm a 10. It's not going to take me long to do that. So I would just ask you to maybe consider whether that's productive or not. Again, I found it curious and.
But I think you may be misinterpreting. They're not self-evaluating. Okay,
Well,
they are
providing you. Again, I'm just reading Mr. Kelly's notes. They're providing a self-rating. Now, if that self-rating becomes a measure within which you begin to task them about, no, you're not really a 10, you are some other number, that's different. And if that's what you're saying, then I get it.
That is the exact process.
Okay. All right. Well, that is helpful. Again, from a data standpoint, if it's not an over ask, I'd like to see at least for it's not that many schools in Logan County. If it's permissible, I'd like to see where you can do them on a no-name basis, but I'd like to see how they rate themselves versus how you rate them in terms of where they are and where they might be headed. It would be instructive for me. The survey results that you sent out to a bunch of people, it just said that it occurred, but what were the results of the survey? Are you using those as a tool to measure success or progress, or?
We have used those as a tool to develop an understanding of where some of our instructional staff members, some of our administrators are on the continuum of guiding and leading instruction. We also use that to obtain feedback regarding professional development that had been provided to the staff members. We used that to obtain information with regard to what lessons did they take away from that professional development and how we can continue to support them after the professional development offering. That way it's not a one-time offering, here you go forth and do great things, because we have multiple employees who are on different points of the continuum, and we have to be able to support all of them in order to better serve our students.
Two more questions and I'll be quiet.
Promise.
I promise. You mentioned the fiscal or the physical problems with Logan Middle School and one other school. Chapmanville, maybe?
Talked about Logan High School, Logan Middle School, Chapmanville Regional High School, and then where we are in the process with Mann High School also.
Yeah, so Logan Middle School particularly, is there any recourse back to the original contractor in terms of geotech work that wasn't performed, or, you know, this is a fairly new building that was, I think, built maybe under on or about Mr. Hardesty and my watch while we were local school board members, and that school's not that old, and the fact that it's sinking would indicate that somebody didn't perform some test that maybe they should. Have we turned this over to legal to see if there's some way to go back and see what was not done? It's a lot of money to prop up a school, $3 million to prop up a school that is sinking. So have we looked into that?
I have not contacted legal in any way. From what I can understand in speaking with different architects, also talking with people from the community who are familiar with that property. That property was essentially field and had been used as a parking lot. And then the decision was made to build a school on that parking lot, which was constructed on field without any compaction. There were the geotech studies completed. Now, exactly what they said, I don't know. I think there are a number of places to point fingers in this process. I'm certainly not an architect. I'm not. I've never conducted geotech studies, but I do know that when you're building on field and you use a traditional foundation, which was utilized at this school, then you're asking for significant issues. And from my conversations with people who had students in that school or worked in that school, those problems began to present themselves fairly early on after the school was opened. I believe the school was opened somewhere around 97, in that vicinity, 96, 97. So we're talking about a building 27, 28 years old. So with these push piers, we're literally going to have to go down somewhere between 40 and 55 feet to hit anything solid. So you can see that the traditional foundation was obviously not sufficient, considering that anything solid is 40 to 55 feet below the surface.
So, Mr. President, I would submit that there's been an original architect and an engineer that signed off on all this and said, foundation we're putting in is great. This school is going to last forever. Somebody signed off professionally and it's not working. And now somebody's no doubt signing off on a new plan that says, if we go down 40 feet, it's going to last forever. All these are documents that need to be checked out. Somebody's got to be held accountable for taxpayers now having to spend $3 million to keep Logan Middle School from sinking into the Guyandotte River. I don't think that's necessarily the superintendent's job, but I'm just saying that somebody ought to look into it.
I would agree with you 100%. I think the issue, though, and this is really going to sound ironic. If my memory serves me correct, Logan County was under state takeover during the construction phase of that building.
Well.
I got elected in 94. We got control of the system back in late 96. So I don't think the local board had any real input with regards to the construction. But Mr. Wooten, and for those that don't know, Mr. Wooten is an engineer by trade, and he's spot on this. Whoever did the geotech work for the architect, and I think it was ZMM on that project.
That's correct.
Under different owners, but that does need to be vetted thoroughly, because that's something that, I don't know what errors and omissions is on something 28 years, but I would like to see the original geotech sign off on that project from back, I'm assuming, as early as 1994. Yes, it is an SBA project.
It is. Yeah. The final question.
Yes, sir.
Again, back to my training, I'd like to see some comparison. There was a set of circumstances for which this board decided, hey, we've got to move into Logan County and take some drastic measures. Whatever those measures were, they'll put them on the left-hand side of a T chart. Over on the right-hand chart, be able to look at them and say, okay, finance was a mess. This is what we've done here with finance, and just go down the list and make a comparison, how we're doing, what's fixed, what's not even been addressed, so we can continue to measure the success and then determine the cadence on which these types of updates are presented, because enrollment continues to erode in Logan County in a pretty significant way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we lost about 340 students from 22-23 to 23-24.
Yeah. So that goes to his comment about changing the culture. Change is hard for people to accept. And in the absence of, hey, here's what's happening to change things on the left-hand side of this imaginary column, to keep people from looking for an alternative. Maybe it's a report card that goes out to the community in general. I don't know. But as a board member, I'd like to know. I appreciate the fullness of Mr. Huffman's comments, but I'd like to see on paper, what are we getting accomplished? It's a big thing to take over a county school system. Now we ought to see what's being done to fix the reasons why we decide to take it over. And that's all the questions I have. I appreciate the time.
I'm just going to say, and we have these, the details documented in a planner, so we can get together with accountability. Mr. Kelly can look and we can figure out like how to put that into something that could be shared.
Mr. Gabriel.
Listen,
No, go ahead.
Greg, I totally agree with you. And I was taking some notes while you were talking, I'm sure that the department did an excellent job of going in there and pointing everything in the right direction. And I'm sure that your leadership has pointed everybody to where you are today. And I want to thank everybody for that. I'm like you, I'm interested, first of all, how did we get here? I mean, if we analyze how we got here, then we can find a solution. The leadership that everybody provided is great. And you're right. I don't know how you change the culture. You can't change it in a year, and you can't change it in 2 years. You've got to work at that. That's something that is difficult to do. But I'm sure that you're on the right track. My concern is that this doesn't reoccur in the future. This is not the first takeover in Logan County. And my concern is, I'm sure that every one of you sitting on this board feels the same way. I don't want to sit here and have to do this again in a couple of years. We have to prevent this from reoccurring. And by analyzing how we got here, maybe we can prevent that from occurring in the future. And I'm sure that your team has already started in that direction. Once again, I want to thank you all for what you've done. We've certainly made progress, and I'm sure we made improvements. But we have to make sure, I don't know how long we're going to have to monitor everything that goes on down there, but we need to make sure they don't fall off the cliff again.
I had not planned on commenting on Logan County portion of the report, but I feel compelled to now because, and I'll probably regret this after the fact, but there's a little bit of a history lesson in this as well. I ran back for the Logan County Board of Education in 2016 after being off the board for a period of 18 years and never darkened a door at Holly Avenue. Had no interest, didn't want to go back, had no interest in going. And got calls from people over here at the Capitol telling me how bad things were in Logan in 2016. I said, they can't be that bad. It's impossible. Burned through $20 million unencumbered cash for no reason. All kind of criminal activity. I said, this can't be true. So I ran and I won. And I was elected president. And the first order of business I have is meeting with the FBI, and we won't go down that dark road, but that's where it started. I'd served as president of the board for a year and a half. A vacancy occurred in the West Virginia State Senate. Governor Justice appointed me to the West Virginia State Senate. I tried diligently for a year and a half to get Logan back on the right track when my tenure started in 2016. I felt like we were making progress. The day I left the Board of Education and took my seat over on the second floor of that building, that's when things in Logan started to unravel again. You can ask anyone there that. Mr. Huffman, you mentioned factions in Logan. There's more factions in the Logan County Board's office than there are in the political arena in Logan. There was all kinds of teams. You're exactly right. I find it very comforting that we talked about multiple programs. I think at one time Logan had, before the takeover, I brought you all a copy of a paper that a third grade teacher gave me in Logan in tears of the 16 or 17 programs that Logan County purchased from any snake oil salesman that wanted to sell one about how to improve student achievement. The lady basically said, look, I'm spending 2/3 of my day doing these programs. I can't even teach core subjects. I think you all remember that, when I gave you all that. Logan County, there was a 54-page report outlining the deficiencies in the county, the special circumstance review that Mr. Kelly and his department put together. There is a culture problem in Logan. All they want to do is complain. No one wants to change. And when I became president of this board, and in the real sense of irony in this is, today's my last meeting being president of this board, and I'll give the gavel to someone else. And when I get finished, you'll probably think it's a good thing. But what happened during that time frame? People said that Paul Hardesty is now president of the board. He wants to take over Logan County schools. He wants the power. Power of what? To see who gets pencils in Logan County? I have no interest in that. All this takeover has done for me personally is I do not visit schools. I can't go watch my family members play ball at Logan County venues because I don't want to feel like I'm there causing problem and take away attention from anyone else. Do I come see you, Mr. Huffman?
No, sir.
I don't go to any of the schools. I stay away because I feel like there has to be some separation between the state board and you trying to go in there and clean up the mess. I appreciate what you've done, what you're trying to do. I, along with Mr. Wooten, I like iReady. Before we had I'm ready, I'm not ready, I wish I was ready, I should have been ready. We had all the programs in Logan. We had them all. I need to be ready. We had them all. We bought everything you could buy, but we weren't serving kids. And the people that don't want to change, they want the status quo. And I don't know how we go back and try to change that. But it's got to change because at the end of the day, I'll say what I always said. We serve the taxpayers and the children. I don't serve anybody else. I could care less about the rest of them. And as far as our administrators, if you go back over the last 4 decades in Logan County, if you could open up the personnel records, you'd find that every administrator got a stellar evaluation for the last 4 decades. Almost impossible to discipline an administrator or a teacher because every one of them got perfect evaluations. I mean, it's small steps we're making there. I appreciate what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. But we've got to continue to have this trajectory in a forward manner. We have to do that. And I don't know what we have to do to change the culture down there. Mr. Wood was on the board, president one time in Logan. I was president of the board in Logan. We have tried collectively to do better down there, but the culture is tough in southern West Virginia to change. And anything I can do and this board can do to help you effectuate that change, we want to try to do that. I'll get off the soapbox. This is near and dear to me. It's my home. It's where I choose to live. But I've stayed away the last 2 years and tried to let you all do your bidding and do your business. It's hard. Not been to a ball game in Logan County in over 2 years. I used to be the sports editor of the newspaper. I mean, I'm a ball game kind of guy. That's what I like to do, but I stay away. But I applaud what you're trying to do. His point's well taken. You know, we'd like to see the data, what's going on, do a comparison, a side by side. But the people have to buy into what we're doing. You know, we don't want to stay there longer than we have to, but we'll stay there as long as we need to. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you much. Next, update on Upshur County School Intervention. Mr. Kelly, you're popular today.
Very kind way of looking at it there, Mr. President. Upshur County School Special Circumstance Review update. A little background. West Virginia Department of Education Office of Federal Programs conducted a routine monitoring of Upshur County schools in December of 2022. This resulted in a report of findings, which was completed on February 10 of 23. And per protocols, counties are allowed 60 days to respond to the findings. And the deadline for response was set as May 8, 2023. Later, State Superintendent of Schools notified the Office of Accountability of his intent to commence a special circumstance review. Obviously, this put into motion review, I believe, that started on May 22 of 23. And the initial findings of that process were presented to the board in June of 23, at which time the board voted to intervene in the operation of Upshur County schools. You were updated last December 13, 2023. Notable areas of progress, again, include but are not limited to: Upshur County schools began a credit recovery review in mid-September this year, discovering the county's credit recovery program and processes were yielding questionable results where students were recovering large number of credits. First quarter data meetings were completed with all principals in October. This included beginning of year analysis, discussions of school-based concerns, strategic planning, self-reflections, and the establishment of achievement goals. County also conducted a curriculum and resource audit. Y'all seeing some themes here between the two? I mean, it's kind of amazing. It's like it can be mapped out almost. The process attempted to bolster academic efficiency by determining with teaching staffs what programs were necessary and what programs could be eliminated. By the start of January 24, Upshur County Schools notified the department, the West Virginia Department of Ed, that it had reviewed and revised 2 sections of policy. That was bylaws and finance. And as of June, a draft of the entire policy manual was being prepared for review to be made available on the county website. For any of you who've been involved in policy review, that is quite the chore and quite the achievement. Mr. Watring, Transition Liaison Advisor, reported a comprehensive restructuring of the strategic planning process. Data talks for the county have been completed quarterly at each school. Final round was completed in May with principal evaluations. Upshur County Schools reports all personnel at the board office have received an evaluation for the 23-24 school year. This had not occurred for many central office staff since 2019. Before I introduce Superintendent Stealthy, I kind of want to address what Mr. Gabriel said. What do we think's happened here? What caused this? And my early observation is this. We saw this in Lincoln, we saw it in Logan, and we've seen it in Upshur. The decision makers set aside accountability to appease adults, to make adults happy. And they do so at the expense of student learning and what's best for kids. That is the one consistent thing that I think existed in all 3 of those scenarios. I was talking to a citizen from Upshur probably probably about 2 months ago. And the question they asked is, when are we going to be out of intervention? And I said, well, I can't predict that. And check off a set of boxes and then, hand the keys back. It's not the way it works. And I said, well, how do you think things are going? And the gentleman said, well, I think they're going very well. We're in a much better spot than we were a year ago. Had very kind things to say about Superintendent Miller. You know what he said? She holds people accountable. She's trying to do the right thing for kids. I said, so let me get this right. You're saying the school system's better off than it was a year ago. He said, yes. I said, do you think it's better off than it was 2 years ago? He said, yes. I said, well, how many years back do you have to go until you get to a point where you think it was in better shape than it is today? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, let me ask you this then. If things are better in the current construct, why are you trying to get out of it? If Superintendent Miller in this construct is doing a better job than you had for a while, why don't you just ask her to stay for about 15 years? Is that that? So, I don't think intervention's necessarily a bad thing. I think there's a lot of, we see there's a lot of good things going on. We're working collaboratively with these people. And what I know about these folks that are involved is they're not going to put adult happiness ahead of student achievement and student learning. They're not going to do that. We need to be proud of that and the work they're doing. So that being said, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Miller, and you can field all the tough questions.
Good morning, President Hardesty, Vice President White, board members, and Superintendent Blatt. It is a pleasure to be here to share a lot of the progress that we have made in the past year. It's been hard. It's been emotional, as you could well imagine. And yes, we've probably stepped toes over the last year. But as Mr. Kelly said, kids have to come first. So the first thing we had to do was we had to establish a team that understood that all the arrows have to move in the same direction. Because if we as adults are not making sure that those arrows are all moving in the same direction, our kids are going to be everywhere and nowhere for quite a long time. So we started doing that first through looking at the policy manual that was non-existent. Yes, that was a lot of late nights, but it's going to be well worth it because today it will be published on our website so that everyone in the county will have an opportunity to look at those policies. We still have some administrative guidelines and some forms that need to be added to it. But as we transition through the use of this new policy manual, I think, again, more arrows will be pointed in the same direction. So with that team, we conducted audits of every single school led by Mr. Watering. In those audits, which were very similar to the old OEPA way of coming in and looking at schools and school systems, we determined in each of the schools areas that needed additional support, whether that be curriculum, leadership, looking at schedules, looking at student credits, whatever those things were, we were able to identify as we were looking at them. We also looked at facilities while we were there and safety. And we identified all of those areas, including pictures that could be taken so that folks could actually see what is it were you talking about it. When those things were completed, we went back and we spoke to the principal and their leadership teams at each school regarding those audits. It was eye-opening for many because it had never been done. But it also helped them see the urgency that lied before all of us in making sure that our kids were receiving the quality education that they deserved. As an outcome of that, we have a quality strategic plan that was built not only with those within the county school system, but also with a group of stakeholders within the county so that they could lend their expertise, their ideas, as well as a way to help support the monitoring of what we were going to be doing in the next school year. Prior to the state takeover, there was one goal and one goal only, and that goal did not speak to anything that was going to help support the learning outcomes of students. We now have 4 goals. The first goal is about ELA and improving the outcomes for all of our students in English language arts. Thank goodness we have the science of reading. That has been a game changer for us in Upshur County. It's a game changer for our kids. We also have a goal regarding math. We have a long way to go in math, long way. It scares me. It scares me to the point that I look at my own granddaughter that's getting ready to enter school as a kindergartner, and her grandma has been doing a heck of a lot of number sense with her because she's going to be smart in math. We also have a goal regarding the multi-tiered system of support. The multi-tiered system of support is a way for us to be able to really, truly look at the data that we are collecting through iReady and through other measures to help our students then, not later, but exactly when it's identified that they have an issue. We have a ways to go because we have training that we need to complete as well. And MTSS is not just about academics. It's also around behavior. And as changes come, it's now also around attendance because we do have issues with chronic absenteeism and attendance. Our last goal is around attendance and our graduation rate to make sure that we are sending prepared citizens out into the world, whether they choose to go into the military, straight to a career, or onto a 2 or 4 year degree. The main focus is core instruction. If our principals do not know what they should be going in and looking for when they are doing their walkthroughs through core instruction, we are not going to make the progress that we need to make. So that is a focus for the upcoming year. Holding everyone's feet accountable for the data that students are producing, because they do give us their best and what they can and cannot do. And it's our responsibility as adults to make sure that we are reacting to those things on the spot. We are proud of our system of support program, particularly at the elementary level. Our partnership with Community Care West Virginia is just phenomenal. Wesleyan decided to start a counseling program. They are also now a partner with us. In that process and through the referral process, we are looking at behaviors that are impeding the ability for students to learn. We are pulling them to one particular site and we are working with them. The day they walk into the program is their first day of transition because our goal is to transition them back to the regular classroom and the schools from which they came. This program is going to expand into middle and high school. Finance. Finance was a big issue, and that as to the takeover in Upshur County. We have completed a lot of training. We still ask a lot of questions. I don't ever want to think about being a CSBO. I don't want to see those numbers dancing in my head any longer, but nonetheless, it was something that I also had to learn along the way. We now are in the process of developing a handbook that we will share throughout the county so everyone knows what those expectations are and sort of break down 8200, big policy, and making sure that they are also following school level procedures. Leadership. Part of the strategic plan is a teacher leadership network or framework. Upshur County's was lacking in substance. There were a lot of words, but there was nothing really there that could promote the leadership that we need from our teachers to be able to do the work that needs to be done. We've rewritten that part of the strategic plan, and we are looking for what we call master teachers. We're going to start meeting with them in August, and we're going to start a plan by where they can become mentors to teachers or student teachers that come in and their principals to help guide the leadership that's necessary in their buildings. We are going to be providing coaching, not only for building level administrators, but in the county office. That's never been done before. And those folks need support just like our building level administrators do as well. In personnel, we came when we told you there were no contracts. Well, we went through that process. We have to go through it again to make sure that everyone that we are hiring, everyone that we are retaining, that we are able to say they have a valid contract in place. We reorganized some of our school staff to make them county staff so that all students will have the opportunity to be provided support in areas that they may not be able to prevail and do what we'd like for them to do or mastery. We still have some concerns. That's natural. That's natural. We did not pass our excess levy in May. It was a hard defeat to take because, by golly, we went out there and thought we were doing everything we needed to do to get that thing to pass. But I will tell you that unscientific poll, the lack of movement in the investigation outcomes is really what sunk that levy from passing. The trust, building that trust back, it is going to take time, but we're doing everything we can to get out into the community and work on building that trust. I feel very welcomed by the citizens of Upshur County, and I think together we are going to continue to make great progress. I think with the board and understanding of roles and responsibilities there, we will continue to do so. Do we run the risk of running another levy in November? I don't know. We have a very short time to really determine that because August the 1st, it all has to be out there. Facilities. Our enrollment continues to decline just like it does in every other county. This is probably something that someone after me is going to have to take on. I'm not staying for 15 years. We did ask, and I have to say kudos to Sheila again and her group for the support through special education because it was a mess as well. And it's recognizing where your messes are, making a plan, implementing that plan, looking at the data that you gather, and then seeing the results, and then going back through that cycle of school improvement again is the only way all of this is going to go away to where they can take it back over. Pre-K. I was telling Superintendent Blatt earlier that I was reading an article early this morning about the COVID effect of our pre-K students that will be coming to us. Again, back to a different granddaughter, not the one that's getting ready to go to school, but the one that was born in September of 2020. If we had not intervened and had birth to 3 start coming in and working with her, I'm not sure where Genevieve would be today. But I'm proud to say that Genevieve can outtalk her sister, where before she wouldn't say 2 words. She can look people in the eye and she can have a great conversation with them. So the effect of COVID is not going to be obvious in her, but I do worry about what are we going to see when we bring those students back to our classrooms in August. I also worry about the handover to new leadership because I feel like this is my baby and I don't want to see anything fall back. I just want to see it continue to soar. Because there are great people in Upshur County. There are great people in the Upshur County school system. And I think together we can continue to make progress. And I just hope that whoever comes in behind me understands that Christy might pick up the phone and say, what are you doing? We already did this. Now let's keep going and going in the right direction. So we're going to continue over the next school year to make sure that those arrows are going in the same direction and that we are supporting our students to the level that they deserve to be supported.
Thank you. Questions of Ms. Miller? Mr. Wood?
Yes, sir.
They started doing evaluation. Did you have any unsatisfactory?
We did not have any unsatisfactory. We did have multiple emerging, and that has never occurred there before. Everyone was accomplished and or distinguished. But everyone understood as the process was unfolding throughout the school year that we were taking a very good look at the rubrics that are provided to us through Policy 5310, and that unless they could prove that they were at that level, that's not where we were seeing them, and that's not the rating that they would receive. I lost some administrators over it. I'm sorry. I lost some teachers over a lot of different things this year, too. I'm sorry. But when you look at it, this is hard work, and not everyone's cut out to be part of a takeover county because accountability is where it all is.
Amen. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.
Next is West Virginia Board of Education and West Virginia Department of Education personnel matters. First, we will do the Board of Education personnel matters. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Been moved by Ms. White. Second, Mr. Rotruck. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, with regard to the Department of Education personnel matters, is there a motion to approve? It's been moved by Mr. Wooten, second, Mr. Dunleavy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, department report. Blatt.
Yes, just have a few brief updates. First of all, I introduced to you last month the West Virginia Strive and our initiative to pull together all of the different support systems that we have across the state into a collaborative effort that we can regionally coordinate with our counties. I'm happy to say that we've got our 4 quadrant leaders in place that are going to do this work for us across the state. We also, as part of that, had a large focus on behaviors. And so part of the behaviors is trying something different as we started looking at ways that we need to impact the behaviors that are in our classrooms. We will have 4 counties that will be implementing a school within a school model known as Star Academy at the middle school level. And that will be Logan Middle, Philippi Barber Middle, Westside Middle, I just drew a blank on the fourth one. Which one? Martinsburg North. Yes, Martinsburg North Middle. So those 4 schools will be working with us and with a team here to implement the school within a school model, which really takes a look at the 80 most at-risk students that we have in that school for attendance, behaviors, and academics, and seeing the impact that we can make there. We're also working with the elementary level. We'll have 8 elementary school grants that we will be putting out to 8 different counties that are willing to pilot a series of initiatives that all lead to better increased behavior in our elementary schools. Deputy White is working on those grants to get those out, and we'll be using Raleigh County and Monongalia County for a lot of support there, as they have some models already in place for those earliest learners. We've also, following up to Mr. Stansberry's and Mrs. White had both talked a lot about our cell phone policy. We've got the initial group of our external team put together. There's been a lot in the media, a lot in the news. Ohio County Schools has already introduced a policy that we've been looking at. We're going to pull in some additional principals, but we have a superintendent, a chief instructional leader, and then one of our safety officers in one of the counties that have asked to be a part of that team, so that we can start looking at what we want to put in place at the state level to kind of guide what they do at the county level. And then finally, I would just like to recognize and thank President Hardesty for his past 2 years of leadership, not only to the state board and the department, but to all of our county school systems. And I think we've heard a lot today of what we've been able to accomplish under his leadership. And I would just like to say thank you for your guidance and support.
Next is board member updates, request for information. Mr. Gabriel.
I don't have anything to report other than I would like to echo Superintendent Blatt. Paul, you've been a leader that I mean, you've been great, and you've really led this board in the right direction. You stand out, you really do, and I don't know how you could ever be replaced by any of us. You've done such a great job. You really have. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Mr. Rotruck.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd also like to thank you for 2 tremendous years of being our president. Thank you very, very much. Nothing else to report, sir.
Stansberry, or excuse me, Chancellor Tucker, I'm sorry.
I would certainly echo the comments about you. I love seeing you up at the Capitol, and I love working with you, and it's been my honor for the past 2 years. The one thing that I will point out is that we have our biggest P20 conference of the year coming up next week. Our Student Success Summit, which is navigating new horizons, empowering educators and students in a changing landscape. The Department of Education and my offices work very, very hard on pulling together literally thousands of educators from across the state, higher ed and K-12, and it is next week at Charleston Coliseum, July 17th and 18th.
Dr. Stansberry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to echo those comments as well. It's been an honor to serve under your leadership the last couple of years. I came on right as you came on, and it's just been fantastic running the meetings efficiently and, just taking care of a lot of top issues here in the state. So it's been a real privilege to work under you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Mr. Wooten.
Paul, I've talked way too much in this meeting, so I hope to be brief. But when I think about my history with you and the fact that you and I grew up in the same neighborhood, came from the same community, and then I think about the problems that some of these various counties are facing, we're a living proof that anything is possible. Okay, and to think that you and I have grown up and find ourselves here is some kind of modern miracle. But you are a great leader. I'm sorry that I haven't had more time to serve under you as you being the president, but I'll continue to serve as your friend for a long time.
Appreciate that. Mr. Dunleavy.
Paul, I want to thank you for your service the last 2 years. You do an outstanding job, and we thank you. I have nothing else.
Ms. White.
Got some big shoes to fill. There's some really big shoes to fill. You have been a driving force that has helped us tremendously navigate some difficult times, and we want to keep you around and keep you busy at the Capitol as well. So I hope you will enjoy your not having to be in charge for a little while at least. Thank you.
As you all well know, I usually do not comment under this portion of the program, but I appreciate all your kind words. Driving up the corridor this morning, it was somewhat bittersweet. I can't believe 2 years has passed this quickly. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank some people in this room here today that have made my job more enjoyable. Virginia Harris always keeps me prepared. I want to thank you. You're very efficient in what you do. Michelle, you and Sonia, modern day Thelma and Louise, as I call them. It seemed like we don't have a set schedule. It could be 7 days a week, morning, noon, or night. It seemed like we've got issues, and I call y'all probably way too much, but I appreciate what you do. And I want to talk about our staff that's here today. We got the most wonderful staff here at this department. You are efficient. You're professional. I have tried to be very respectful of your time. I try to run a prompt meeting and get out of here as fast as we can because I know you all got real work to do rather than sit here and listen to us blow all day long. But I want to thank our staff. Christy Day, every time I do an interview, she's there with me and makes sure I don't mess up. I cannot thank you enough. Kelly Talbot, what you do for us from a legal perspective. My regulars that come every month, Dale, Fred, David, and Mickey. One, I appreciate your all's friendship, your level of professionalism. I wish I could do more to help your all's collective causes, but it's tough right now. Public education is under attack. We know that, and we try to make the best of it. Stephen Adams and Amelia, my two regulars back there, you all put up with my garbage and come every meeting. I can't thank you enough. But I do care about kids. It's been something. It's the only office I ever ran for 3 times in Logan. But I care about children. As Greg said, in a most eloquent manner, we was raised on the poor side of town. Had good parents that taught us a strong work ethic. I wouldn't trade that for anything, but I'm living proof that if you set your mind to do something, you can make it happen. The good Lord directs our steps every day, and I believe He has a purpose for each one of us. I'm firmly committed to believe that. Nancy, I do have big feet. I wear a size 16. But I appreciate everyone here, and a couple things I'd like to leave to the person I hand this gavel to here momentarily. I start meetings on time, 9 a.m., not 9:01, 9 a.m. I hate executive session. I think we should conduct the people's business in public. I think we have only had executive session maybe 3 or 4 times in the past 2 years. I hate it. I think that's where boards of education find and get themselves in trouble. They go to try to hide behind the cloak of darkness. Nothing good can come back there unless you have to do it, which is prescribed in the 8 or 9 items allowable under executive session. I appreciate this board. I've got wonderful colleagues to work with here. There's no I. We're 9 members, all pulling the rope in the same direction for the children of West Virginia. And I'll hush with the blubber and the comments, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Next is the election of the Board of Education officers.
President, I'd like to make a recommendation, please.
Yes, sir.
Come on, you're supposed to let me know about that. I'd like to nominate Nancy White as our new president, Victor Gabriel as our vice president, Scott Roachuk as secretary, and Paul Hardesty as a legislative liaison, which is a new position for you.
You're not going anywhere.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve those nominations?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Wooten,
Second.
second by Dr. Stansberry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With that, Nancy, congratulations. I know you'll do a wonderful job. And you have any comments?
I am humbled. I am honored and humbled to follow you. Do my best and stay in touch with everyone. I'm free anytime to talk. Might have to wake me up, but I look forward to tackling some of the problems that are before us, and we just need to keep trucking along and doing our best because it is for the children, and they deserve our best, obviously. So we got some blocks to knock down and some to build up. But with that, I will wait till you're not looking. See if you jump.
As a parting gift, Nancy, I've asked the print shop to make some cards up. They are 1-800-CALL-NANCY. And we'll make sure all of y'all have a copy of those as soon as they're printed. If there's no further business come before this board, is there a motion to adjourn? So move, Mr. Woot. Second, Mr. Gabriel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.